Welcome to my channel. It's Francisco Perez. Welcome to another educational lesson. We're getting to this book, The History of the American Indians by James Adair. Alright? Page 164. The Indians have customs consonant to the Mosaic laws of uncleanliness. They oblige their women in their lunar retreats to build small huts at a considerable distance from their dwelling houses, as they imagine may be out of the enemy's reach, where during the space of that period they are obliged to stay at the risk of their lives. Should they be known to violate the ancient law, they must answer for every misfortune that befalls any of the people, as a certain effect of the divine fire, though the lurking enemy sometimes kills them in their religious retirement. Notwithstanding, they reckon it conveys a most horrid and dangerous pollution to those who touch or go near them, or walk anywhere within the circle of their retreats, and are in fear of thereby spoiling the supposed purity and power of their holy ark, which they always carry to war. They always carry an ark to war, Ark of the Covenant. Yet the enemy believes they can so cleanse themselves with the consecrated herbs, roots. We cleanse ourselves with the herbs and the roots, the acacia tree, the cedar wood, which the chieftain carries in the beloved war ark. The war ark, Ark of the Covenant, as to secure them in this point from bodily danger, because it was done against their enemies. The non-observance of this separation, a breach of the marriage law, and murder, they esteem the most capital crimes. When the time of the woman's separation is ended, they always purify themselves in deep running water. Return home, dress and anoint thyself. They ascribe these monthly periods to the female structure, not to anger blah 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 Abba. Correspondence to the Mosaic law of women's purification after travail. The Indian women absent themselves from their husbands and all public company for a considerable time. The Muskogee women are separate for 3 moons, exclusive of that moon in which they are delivered by the Jewish law. Women after a male birth were forbidden to enter the temple, and even the very touch of sacred things for 40 days. And after a female, the time of separation was doubled. Should any of the Indians' women violate this law of purity, they were among the people as necessary effect of the divine anger for their pollution sin, contrary to the old traditional law of female purity, like the greater part of the Israelites. It is the fear of temporal evils and the prospect of temporal good that makes them so tenacious and observant of their laws. At the stated period, the Indian woman's impurity is finished by obulation, and they are again admitted to social and holy privileges. By the Levitical law, the people who had running issues or sores were deemed unclean and strictly ordered apart from the rest for fear of polluting them, for everything they touched became unclean. The Indians in a strict manner observed the very same law. They followed the ancient Israelitish copy so close as to build a small hut at a considerable distance from the house of the village for every one of their warriors wounded in war, and confined them there, as the Jewish lepers formerly were, without walls of the city, for the space of 4 moons, including the moon in which they were wounded, as in the case of their women after travail, and they keep them strictly separate, lest the impurity of the one should prevent the cure of the other. The reputed prophet or divine physician daily pays them a due attendance, always involving Yohiwa, Oh, yo, hiya. 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 That's what he's saying. Let me get my. Ah. Sorry. Always invoking Hea to bless the means they apply on the sad occasion, which is chiefly mountain alum and medicinal herbs, always enjoining a very abstemious life, prohibiting them, women and salt in particular, during the time of the cure, and sanctifying the reputed sinners like the Israelites. They firmly believe that safety or wounds and see immediately proceed from the pleased or angry deity for their virtuous or vicious conduct in observing or violating the divine laws. In this long space of purification, each patient is allowed only a superannuated woman to attend him, who is past the temptations of sinning with men, lest the introduction of a young one should either seduce him to folly, or she having committed it with others, or by not observing her appointed time of living apart from the rest, might thereby defile the place and totally prevent the cure. But what is yet more surprising in their physical, or rather theological regimen, is that the physician is so religiously cautious of not admitting polluted persons to visit any of his patients, lest the defilement should retard the cure or spoil the warriors, that before he introduces any man, even any of their priests who are married according to the law, he obliges him to assert either by a dumb affirmative or by two negatives that he is not known even in his own wife in the space of the last natural day. This law of purity was peculiar to the Hebrews, to deem those unclean who cohabited with their wives till they purified themselves in clean water. That's what it says in the Bible. It says if you have sex and you get sperm, you have to shower. You have to take off their clothes. If it has sperm, and say you have to throw that in the wash and get new clothes. You have to shower. That's what this saying. It said you cannot be around your brothers unless they would clean themselves after, if they had sex, right? Now as the heathen world observed no such law, it seems that the primitive American derived this religious custom also from divine precept, and that these ceremony rites were originally copied from the Mosaic institution. And that's what we live by. In America, we were living by a Mosaic law. And that's what the Europeans try to teach you. They try to teach you that never have any law here. And so when the Europeans came and brought law, that's the divine law. Because there was no law or government here yet. We know there was a government. And all we had was run by Mosaic law. The Israelites became unclean only by touching their dead for the space of 7 days, and the high priest was prohibited to come near the dead. Much the same with the Indians to this day. To prevent pollution, when the sick person is past hope of recovery, they dig a grave, prepare the tomb, anoint his hair, and paint his face. And when his breath ceases, they hasten the remaining funeral preparations, and soon bury the corpse. One of different family will never or very rarely pollute himself for a stranger, though in living he would cheerfully hazard his life for his safety. The relations who became unclean by performing the funeral duties must live apart from the clean for several days, and be cleansed by some of their religious order, who chiefly apply the button snake root the button snake root for their purification. As formerly described, then they purify themselves by oblation. After 3 days, the funeral assistants may convene at the town house and follow their usual diversion. But the relations live recluse a long time, mourning the dead.